It's Monday, January 15th. You're listening to Your Florida Daily. I'm Katrina Scales. In Flagler County, state highway troopers say charges could be coming for a driver accused of hitting 3 people as they were crossing the street, killing 2 of them. It happened early Sunday morning along US 1 and State Road 100 in Bunnell. Troopers say a 51-year-old man in a pickup truck hit the victims, then took off. His truck was later found in a pizzeria parking lot. 2 women, both in their 50s, from Palm Coast were killed, and a 48-year-old man was seriously hurt. The driver and his passenger were not hurt. Troopers say charges are pending for the driver. The National Transportation Safety Board says it's now investigating 2 crashes that involved a Brightline train and killed a total of 3 people at the same railroad crossing last week. The crashes happened Wednesday and Friday at a crossing along the US 1 corridor in Melbourne, where the high-speed train passes through on its daily routes from Orlando to South Florida. Friday's crash killed 2 Melbourne residents, driver Lisa Batchelder and passenger Michael DeGasperi. On Wednesday, 62-year-old Charles Phillips was killed when his SUV was hit by the train. According to the mayor, Phillips drove around the railroad crossing and tried to outrun the train. The bright, neon yellow Brightline trains travel at speeds up to 125 miles per hour in some locations. The NTSB said a preliminary investigative report will be released in the next month. According to an Associated Press database, there have now been 5 deaths along the railway extension since it opened in September. None of Brightline's previous deaths have been found to be the train's fault. And this year's citrus crop in Florida could show much-needed growth after a devastating season a year ago. The USDA projects more than 20 million boxes of oranges will be produced this time around, which would mark a 30% jump from last season. Severe storm damage caused by Hurricanes Ian and Nicole led to a sharp drop in production. If this year's forecast holds up, the state's citrus output would still be less than half of what it was 2 years ago. By the way, I did a whole special episode about Florida's struggling citrus industry and the local grove that's growing a solution to citrus greening. Just scroll back to December on this podcast app or check it out with some pictures on clickorlando.com. And while you're there, you'll find these top stories along with breaking news, weather, and traffic 24/7. And now, a completely not so random Florida fact. Legendary civil rights activist Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spent a night in the St. Johns County Jail in 1964. His crime? He was charged with trespassing while attempting to join friends for lunch in St. Augustine. Back then, the Monson Motor Lodge and Restaurant was a whites-only establishment. Today, the steps where King was arrested have been preserved for almost 60 years. You can find the Monson Motel steps next to a historical marker behind the Hilton Bayfront Hotel along A1A. Your Florida Daily is produced by News 6 WKMG in Orlando. I'm Katrina Scales. Happy MLK Day, and subscribe for new episodes wherever you like to listen.